Hello and welcome to this Amber and BJ webinar on Bridge the Gap of Hybrid, how technology enables flexibility in association with Barco. I'm Max Braithwaite, Head of Commercial Relations for Amber and BJ. I'm looking forward to an hour of really interesting insight, and shortly I'll hand over to our speakers, Simone Hammer and Peter Van Swally, to start the conversation. Before I do, a bit of housekeeping. We want the session to be as interactive as possible, so if you have any questions, just add them to the question box for us to answer live at the end. Equally, there will be a few polls throughout the course of this presentation, so we ask you to contribute to those when allowed to do so. If you miss anything, don't worry, because the recording and slides will be available in post-event comms and on the Amber and BJ websites within a week. Over to you, Simone.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Max, for the introduction. Thank you for having us today. Welcome to everybody joining us today at this webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are today. We will talk about bridging the gap of hybrid, how technology is enabling flexibility, and flexibility is the one word. It's not a buzzword, it's really the word that is marking our agendas. With that, I would like to introduce my colleague, Peter Van Swally. He's product manager at Barco WeConnect. Peter, you might want to say a couple of words.
Thank you very much, Simone. I'm product manager of Barco WeConnect. I have been with Barco since the beginning of 2017. Started actually out in the healthcare division of Barco, and last year around April crossed over to the enterprise division to be the product manager for all the applications we do, or all the projects we do within the learning experience.
Thank you, Peter. My name is Simone Hammer. I'm heading marketing for the Barco WeConnect platform. We will hear more about what the Barco WeConnect platform is and what it can do for you specifically. I also would like to invite you to ask all your questions. We are not in a WeConnect session today, unfortunately. I mean, I would love to be there because it would be even more engaging, but let's make it as engaging as possible. I cannot hear you, but I cannot see you, but I can read, or we can read actually your questions. So we want to make this as interactive as possible. So please ask all your questions in the chat. You can chat with each other. We will pick them up as we go, if possible, or at the end of this session. As Max said, there will be polls also, so please reply to the polls. It will be even more fun actually to have your reactions. We have our view of the market and what is happening, but getting a little bit the pulse and the temperature here of the people attending this webinar is really great. With that, a couple of words, Peter, about Barco, yes, because Barco might not be so well known by this audience in education.
Well, that indeed might be. So Barco is active in entertainment, healthcare, and enterprise. So Barco is indeed in the industry well known for producing LED walls, projectors, medical displays, and also with an enterprise for our solutions in AV like ClickShare that does wireless presentation. But also we are active in the learning domain within learning technology. But maybe therefore a little bit background on Barco. Barco is already a multinational. We have been established almost 100 years ago. We are a global country because we are active. We have offices indeed worldwide, more than 30 countries we are active in. We are known to be a trusted partner within the Fortune 500. And the way we develop, we really focus on smart innovation, where we know that whatever we try to do, we try to make the difference. We want to focus on innovation that matters. And the way we do that is by co-creating with partners and customers. So also hence in this webinar, this is also one of these touch points we have with our partners and customers to exchange thoughts. So there again, a call to, if you have questions or remarks, post them in the chat that we can actually touch upon it later on in this webinar.
So let's go very quickly through the agenda. So today, of course, it will all be about bridging the gap of hybrid. Hybrid is a buzzword, but what does it really mean? This will be the first thing we will talk about. Terminology. What is hybrid, hyflex, or blended learning? Sometimes these are used interchangeable, but are they really interchangeable? Well, we will try to set the scene for this hour, at least that we know what we are talking about. And then we will see also that you can define a lot of things yourselves. Second thing we will look into is the trends for hybrid learning. Would love to hear also what you see as trends. Then the challenges, of course, a lot of challenges. The road to success. So what can you do actually to get closer actually to a successful deployment of a hybrid solution? What is the solution? What can we bring you as an industry partner? For participants and facilitators, so for students and faculty, what could be the solution? And then also looking at different setups, because hybrid is not hybrid or hyflex. There are different possibilities, and what are we talking about here again? A lot of tips and tricks, hopefully, a lot possibilities for you to envision a future hybrid deployment, and I hope you will get a lot on the way with you when you leave. So let's hop immediately into the first chapter here, the terminology. We are talking here about different learning modes, and it's really I've been here recapturing what we are talking about. Face-to-face, obvious, right? Face-to-face, that's what we have always been doing. Classical classroom-based sessions, face-to-face. Next to that, live virtual, interactive virtual sessions enabled by technologies. This is synchronous. This means it's real time. That's what we are doing today. But Max mentioned that this webinar is also recorded and will be posted. Then it will become an online video on demand module, right? And we also have, of course, hybrid or hyflex, and we will look into what the difference is. Face-to-face and virtual learners are together in a single experience, a unified experience. That is really, really important. And last but not least, blended learning, which is really mixing everything up. You're looking into your curriculum, you're looking into your program. How do you want to deliver the different parts of it? Maybe some face-to-face, maybe some live virtual, others can be done online with a MOOC. And in some cases, you want to bring more diversity into the room, and you want to have people that are joining the classroom physically and others that are joining from remote. So that would be then blended. So what are we talking about? Let's hop into that. A little bit of literature coming here from BrainBD. This is really the definition that we have found as mostly used, even if there is lots of definitions, of course, out there, as I mentioned before. What BrainBD says, it's a combination of hybrid. So hybrid meaning combining both online and face-to-face modalities, and flexible. Students choose whether or not to attend face-to-face sessions. This is the hyflex setup, and very often used also if you are joining us from the US, we hear a lot about hyflex. But hyflex is really that, a hybrid setup with the flexibility that is given to the students, to the participants to join wherever they are. The students have full control of their modality, face-to-face, online synchronous, or online asynchronous, meaning that like today, the session is recorded. So a synchronous session, you can record it and you can post it somewhere so that somebody who has not been able to join can still review it and learn. Okay. And with that, I would like to launch the first polling question, because lots of talking, lots of terminology. Are you using hybrid or hyflex learning environments today? Are you using hybrid or hyflex learning environments today? Yes, a lot. Yes, sometimes. No, not at all. No, but I want to put them in place. Or you don't know, or you don't know yet, maybe. If you want to answer this question, please. Are you using hybrid hyflex learning environments today? It is an interesting development, and we will soon talk a little bit about the trends. But what we have really seen is that blended learning and hybrid or hyflex learning have become very, very popular during and specifically now after the COVID pandemic, of course. So there's a lot of reaction, and here we have the results. Okay. 25% say yes, you're using hybrid sometimes, 50% said no, not at all, and 25% want to put them in place. Okay, so you're not using it, but you want to put them in place. Okay, the hybrid setups. Okay, interesting, thank you. So we see here also quite some interest, and I'm also interested for those who have who voted here for yes, you are sometimes using hybrid setups. What is your experience? Maybe you can type that into the chat as well. What is your experience with your hybrid setup? And maybe those who have not yet put it in place, why haven't you put it in place? Would be interesting as well, so that we can have a little bit of a discussion. Okay, and with that, let's go into the trends. I already started to say blended hybrid learning are really what we see as coming out of the pandemic. Lots of people have also been redesigning their curricula, their programs, and really making to better understand where do they need to have face-to-face presence, where they need to have people sitting together, where they need to have synchronous sessions, whereas others can be asynchronous. So really interesting. So what has changed? And we have done here with AMBA and BGA and the education technology research for the second year in a row last year. And the results were published at the end of last year. So we have done one in 2020 and one in 2021. What has changed? That was really interesting. The changes in learning. So plus 12% said that they will do more online learning. Plus 9% said there is more blended learning, blended mode. Plus 7% said there is more hybrid learning, right? And minus 3%, of course, that's not surprising because it was end of last year, less, so minus 3% classroom-based learning. So what we saw before as face-to-face mode. And what is the proportion of the courses that are taught in the following ways? We were digging deeper into what was asked here. What was the proportion of your courses that are taught in the following ways? 27% of the courses were still taught in classroom. So we have to remember this was summer, autumn last year. 27% it said it was hybrid, so already a lot of hybrid, so nearly a third. 44% of the respondents said completely online with video conferencing software such as Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, maybe, so whatever what we have available. 38% said online with an education dedicated virtual classroom software. That would be a software like our software, the Barco Connect software. So a lot already have said that they had deployed specific systems and platforms, and 24% said that it was blended. And what we can see overall is that hybrid and blended learning methods are the future. 62% of the leaders plan to keep aspects of faculty teaching online, and we will in a minute go deeper into that as well. 62% say that the faculty will not completely return to the classroom, to the physical classroom, maybe into the virtual classroom, right? 65% will look to keep aspects of students not coming to the campus. So same, also the students are participants to the sessions, will not all the time or all of them come back to the campus. They will continue to follow courses from wherever they are, from home or any other place. Let's look at it a little bit in more detail. What we have asked, so what are you keeping or discarding in the next 5 years? What we said is move to teaching online, 36% said keeping aspects of 62%. So everybody said that they would keep that. Now 75% said, that's what we saw before. The students did not come to the campus and they keep that as well. And now let's look into the two right ones. We were able to have larger cohorts of students, which means that you could actually welcome more students, maybe also have more diversity. We also have more than 90% who said that they want to keep that. They want to keep larger cohorts of students, and this is enabled by also virtual classrooms teaching. The business school was able to adopt new technology. Yes, the pandemic, of course, with all the things that have happened, there were a couple of positive side effects. First of all, teachers, faculty, professors have moved to new ways of teaching. And then with that, technology was rolled out. Of course, mistakes were made, and maybe adoption was sometimes a little bit difficult. And we are a lot in contact with business schools like yours, talking with them. If they had to redo it, they would, of course, change a couple of things. But still, they want still to continue to roll out more technology, new technology, more adapted technology. They want to adapt actually the learning and that they have from the pandemic and from what has happened, which is really, really exciting for everybody. Another angle that I would like you to look at is here coming from a survey from Carrington Crisp that was done last year, is how interested would you be in any of the following options for your future of learning and development? This is more about lifelong learning here. And what we can see is, yes, they want to have, if you look into the blues here and even the greens, a Netflix style platform. They want it to be completely flexible. They want to have different opportunities actually at any time to add new skills. They want to have short modules. So it should be completely modular, flexible. They want to learn as they go and they want to personalize it. Really, really interesting. So the big long classes of 1 week, and I remember them myself, I've been working in several corporates, might not exist anymore because we want to have bits and pieces here and there. The way of learning is now different. And with that, I hand over to Peter, who will talk a little bit about the challenges, because of course, I mean, there's a lot of wishes and wishfulness actually of moving into this new world and looking into the trends, but of course there are challenges.
Indeed, Simon, thank you. So to summarize a bit on that research, what has come in on why do people want to go for hybrid, it's indeed the big term has been said, it's to offer that flexibility so that your students can choose whether they want to participate in the room or that they actually prefer to digitally participate. That flexibility, of course, enhances the inclusion. Not everybody is able to travel and to actually move places. So you could say it's a best of both worlds. You offer to the people that are interested to join in because they like to be in person, be there, but you also don't exclude people that cannot be there physically to join in. And by that, you saw that a lot of schools are able to actually get a bigger reach, which is diversifying to get new insights in, getting people that would not otherwise join your courses to actually come in with a more global perspective, adding that the people that are more local to you. So these three top things are the reasons why people would want indeed to go hybrid. On the next. So the second polling question, how successful do you think your hybrid hyflex learning modes are today? With A being very successful, to C not successful at all, or maybe it's hard to know whether the current hyflex learning modes you are participating in are successful.
I'm really interested actually to see that.
Yeah.
How successful do you think your hybrid or hyflex learning modes are today? For those specifically, as we have seen, Peter, before, that have already deployed hybrid
Yeah.
setup, right? We saw, I think it was 25%, and some have not deployed yet, and maybe you have put something into the chat and we can discuss it, so understanding why. But of course, there are challenges.
Yes, I see it also. There is a message in the chat. There is one aspect that we are indeed looking at why, and we see benefits, but you could say that flexibility, the other point was indeed here, yeah, it could be better. And sometimes it's also hard to judge, could also be the people that haven't had the experience with it. But that's a feedback we get a lot. So there was a very rapid movement into hybrid during COVID, and people felt forced. And therefore, not every time the best fitting technologies were picked. So I think that the majority here, what we see as replies, it could be better, is good. It means that we're making progress on it, but there is still indeed a way to go. And it also aligns with the comment we had in the chat that often it feels like the worst of all combinations. But that's indeed, it's true. There are challenges still that we need to solve in a hyflex environment. And that's something where Reconnect is actively looking into. I think if we look at the top two challenges, then we can look at that feedback is that a top challenge is putting people in a hyflex environment has the tendency that it works disengaging for your participants. Overall, there is a sense of disengagement and a loss of connection, especially loss of connection between people who are physically present and people that are remote. In a lot of settings, people have the tendency to form actually two groups to feel connected to, if you're local, to the local people. If you're remote, you feel more connected to the remote people. So there it's a real challenge. How can we overcome that? So the overall loss of engagement, but also the fact that there are like two groups that are being formed. Because this is also something that reflects often in the facilitator experience for a teacher that has to work with those two groups. Because yeah, the teacher wants to deliver the same course, and he wants to or she wants to deliver the same experience, and then often finds that they need to switch. They need to switch not only mentally, they need to switch or sometimes repeat themselves, but also building up that emotional connection becomes very hard because there is a local bias. The people that are very near to you, it's logical that you will feel closer and paying more attention to them. And that's why you could lose track of the people that are remote. And especially because in a lot of solutions, the teacher also needs to switch. They need to switch from the system that's being used in the classroom, but also the system that is being used to actually support the remote facilitation. And that doesn't help to bridge that gap. So a poll question number 3, especially for the people that have tried to go into hyflex. What are the hurdles that you have come across when you are in a hybrid learning environment that you have experienced? What are the biggest hurdles? Is it A, disengaged learners, B, too difficult for trainers to handle, C, no connection between remote and local learners, or D, maybe others? Or E, maybe you don't have any difficulties when you are in a hybrid HyFlex learning environment. Give it a moment.
Of course, I mean, when we talk really to our customers and prospects, of course, the number one thing is really the disengagement. They are looking for better engagement, making sure that everybody can see and hear each other. We will talk about that, I think, in a minute. But that seems to be a big hurdle that is lowering the engagement rate with older people.
Yeah. And what we indeed see is that also a lot of participants here in the webinar have felt these challenges. They see disengaged learners, and it's also a difficulty for trainers. It's more difficult. But above all, indeed, the connection that is not there between remote and local learners. So you could say there is still a bridge that we need to close here to make it work. I think that is something that we have been focusing on in Barco while we were developing Reconnect, and to really see how actually can a system be a good performing technology within the HyFlex environment.
Okay, and with that, I mean, we don't want actually to stick with the challenges, right? If there are challenges, there is ways to overcome them. And so let's hop into what is the road to success. And what you see here in the picture is part of that, of course. And you can see here a hybrid classroom setup. That one classroom at our headquarters in Belgium. In Kortrijk. It's our hybrid classroom where we have a setup with the participants in the back of the room, but you can have various setups, and then having people joining in the class or in the room itself. So as one of these hybrid setups. But I also want to focus on one thing. It's not only about technology. What you can see here is really, I mean, there are 4 pillars that I have found, that we have found, that are important when you want to set up a hybrid environment or a HyFlex learning environment. First of all, it's the mission. It's understanding what is your mission as an institution. Aligning HyFlex or hybrid with your company's or your institution's mission and creating your own definition. That's what I mentioned in the beginning. We have talked about terminology. What does hybrid mean? What does HyFlex mean? What does blended mean? But at the end, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you have aligned your institution to what you want to do and what is important for you and what learning outcomes you want to obtain. So if your HyFlex setup in the way you want to do it is good for your faculty and for your participants, for your students, that's perfect. So align everybody around your own definition. And of course, you can make use of the definitions that are out there. Second are the trainers or the teachers or the faculty. Yes, they have to drive the efforts. So if you include them in the mission building, or at least some of them, so the early adopters or those who are really keen of doing that, and there are always some, then just make them help you actually to roll things out. Make it faculty driven and organize support for everybody, for the ones that are early adopters, and then also for all those who are maybe a little bit reluctant to new technology. Talking to one of our customers, they said, oh, we have been, of course, as everybody, when the COVID started, we have hopped on Zoom, and we have been doing our sessions with Zoom. And of course, that was perfect for course continuity. And then we rolled out your system, Barco Reconnect, and some of the faculty were reluctant because they had to change again. Actually, what they had to do is come back to their natural style. And we will talk about that in a minute as well. Come back to their natural style. They were already used actually to sit in front of their computers, as we are all today, and not going around, moving around, going to the whiteboard and being natural as a natural style. And that's what you can do actually in a hybrid or a virtual classroom with Barco Reconnect. The third pillar is technology. And of course, it's part of it. And that's what I meant before. It's the classroom infrastructure. It's also making sure that the access for the participants is very easy and that the trainers or the faculty is trained, right? So technology is an important pillar. It's not the only one. It's not the only one. I've put it here at the third place, right? And then last but not least, if we've clearly defined the mission, if we have taken care of our faculty, of our professors, of our teachers, if we have the right technology, the right platform, the right room setup, we should also make sure right from the beginning that we can evaluate what a success means. It's important actually to say, okay, this platform or this program is successful, running it in a hybrid way. But why is it successful? What makes it so unique? Okay, and why shouldn't we run it in a different way? Create your own KPIs based on the mission, based on the trainers that you have supported, and based on the technology, and follow up from time to time and tweak and change as you go. We are not recommending to rolling out hundreds of setups actually. Now start small, learn, bring people on board, make them adopt, and go on and find the right partner to do that. And with that, we have got another polling question. In which of these areas do you struggle today? If we talk about hybrid deployment or hybrid setups. With the mission, this was our first pillar. With the trainers or the faculty or teachers. With technology, or with the evaluation part, that you cannot evaluate if finally what you have set up is successful. So is it more defining the mission? Is it more bringing the faculty on board, the adoption? Is it to find the right technology or the right technology partner? Or is it about evaluating if what you are doing is successful and really brings the right learning outcomes to your teaching institutions? So that's what you are looking for. Or the last one, of course, others, or you don't struggle anywhere because you have well-defined all of these pillars, and you go and you're happy and everything's fine, which I would really hope is the case for many of you. Okay. All right, so we can see here it's technology. It's technology that is the most important struggle actually of yours today. Would be interesting for the person who has replied technology to tell what exactly it is. Is it finding the right technology? Is it deploying it, the technology, or does the technology not work and you don't know what else exists? Would be interesting for us to know, also for the discussion we will have at the end. Now let's move into the solutions. So this is already giving you a flavor of, there are of course solutions, and we are on the road for success. But Peter, I hand it over to you again to talk a little bit about what is possible.
Indeed, because if we look into the domain of technology, even there, we have to look at different aspects of the technology if you want to look at a successful hybrid or a hyflex setup. One key area is to work with professional AV equipment. It is a key, the fact that you actually have microphones placed around your learning environment that captures all the audio, and that makes sure that there are no dead spots, that the volumes are the same, and that you hear people in the room. Likewise, you hear people outside of the room. That is a key factor, and often in that first aspect, there are a lot of systems that are failing. Also, the second approach is that you don't want something that is too fixed to one mode. So everybody starts with plenary, where a teacher is addressing the class in full, but do make sure that you look for a solution where you have support for breakout rooms. WeConnect supports breakout rooms, and not just splitting groups like remote and groups locally, but has the ability to really that you can form up groups with people which are present in the room and also outside. Also make sure that you have software support within that platform you're using, where you, for example, have the ability to support for back channels. Of course, I said at the beginning, audio video is very important, that you can hear and see each other. Yes, but also the fact that not everybody will be expressing themselves in the same way. So it's important that you have that back channel, and that you, even as a teacher, you don't discourage to use it. Even on the contrary, make sure that there is an active discussion going on, that people can express themselves, and it will always also be a great channel to hear if there is somebody that has some question or some challenges that needs to be answered. Another part, when you look at visualization, is really to look for enhanced visualization. And in WeConnect, we do this by making sure that people that are remote are presented on a big wall. They are presented life size, and you see them as big as you see the other people in the room. But not just seeing each other, but also collaborating. And so that means that do make sure you have things like a shared whiteboard, where people in the room can use the whiteboard, and same likewise on that same board, that people can work together that are remote to work together on those same ideas. And to stretch that further, it's also that ecosystem fit. Making sure that the solution you opt in for a hyflex environment ties well into the other systems that you are using. For example, for a lecture capture system, but also make sure that it can run on the laptops and tablets you are already using. For example, as well, WeConnect is a cloud-based solution, which comes with a very limited footprint, no things to install, and comes with, you could say for IT, a very low maintenance. And that makes it very easy to keep the software always up to date. But if we refer back to those big challenges, everybody was feeling in the group these challenges. One aspect for the participants was not feeling connected. So what is WeConnect doing to make sure that people do feel connected? And we actually have that big participant wall where everybody can see each other. And also the pro is that the people that are remotely present are looking to you from that position on that wall. Of course, you could say that having that wall is great, but what if I'm looking in the other direction? WeConnect has the ability for actually these confirmations in that spots to bring in recent speaker monitors, that whomever is participating in the discussion can be visualized also at other places, to really accommodate that you can make WeConnect fitting to the learning environment you already have, and not the other way around. There as well, WeConnect works together with the industry standard partners on audio video to make sure that if you set up a WeConnect system, it's there with professional AV, making sure everybody is heard. And as participant, you don't have to wonder or shout or speak up or be shy or think that you will not be heard by the people remote, or the other way around. And the other aspect is how feeling connected comes from actually participating in same activities. And collaborating on a single platform is from key importance. So having people, like I said, the challenge was having people collaborating on one system in the room and another system remote. That's a deal breaker. So with WeConnect, we have the same platform that is being used for people in the room as people that are remote. So if you launch a poll or a quiz, everybody will get the same poll at the same time. If people are posting chat messages, it's the same chat feed, whether you are in the room or remote. If you want to raise your hand, we make sure that it's very well visualized that there are people raising their hands remotely, but also in the system, people that are local can use that same functionality to draw the attention of the teacher. And like I said, also for the breakout groups, WeConnect supports you to make groups local and remote. We do support that, of course, but also the fact that you can actually create dedicated breakout pods where people that are physically present can join in with little groups that are remotely present. So that interactivity to build up really, you could say, breaks down those two groups that are forming to build connections across that space. Another aspect for the participant interface is that participant experience is that sense of belonging. The fact that remote participants, they get a dedicated spot in the room. So it's not like you're having a call with a gallery where people are shifting from one place to the other. No, you know that once you're in the session, people that are remote, they take a seat and they stay there throughout your session. So you know where to address everyone, and it's very logical to you. They are presented life size, and when they talk, you hear them from the position that they are being seated. And also for the people that are remote, they are seeing you from that position. So that really gives that face-to-face feeling, both for the people who are in the room as for the people that are remote. And not to forget, with WeConnect, is that remote participant can still decide where to look. It is a system that offers multiple camera views and also contents that are being brought to the people that are remote. It cannot be underestimated, because if I am in the room, I can always choose whether to focus on the teacher or look at the content, or maybe to a fellow student. If I am remote, I should keep having that same flexibility, and that is what WeConnect offers you. And WeConnect offers the fact that the student you see here on the image in the left bottom corner can still choose how he is looking into the room, so he can choose himself like he was in the room where to look. But then also for the facilitator. So there was some stress when working with two audiences. We already resolved the fact that there is now one system, but the fact that also that system is very easy and unified. That's what WeConnect gives to the teacher, is the feeling of being in control. Because with WeConnect, you don't have to change the way you teach. And you teach in the same way like you are used to. And you use one system, not one system to guide you through the sessions. So this gives you really a feeling of control to easily facilitate the session. And also it supports plenary or collaborative moduses to switch from the other in very fluently. And also, secondly, it's again feeling more connected to the students, whether they are locally or they are remote. So the next slide. Yeah, feeling connected equally. So it means that when you are looking into your learning space as a teacher, making sure that you are actually drawn in the same way to a physical student as were to actually people that are not physically present, but digitally, to actually being represented. So this counteracts that very normal bias of talking to the people which are around you. You will feel as if the people that are remote are also around you. Everybody comes and sits at the front row, and it will be very easy for you to be drawn into the people that are being remote and seek the engagement with them in the same way. Also, we work in a studio, which means that WeConnect offers confidence monitors. To really see that when chats messages come in, when hands are being raised, that you very clearly, without any energy loss, you see what is happening and you can act upon it. And again, with working with professional audio video, is that you don't have to ask like, am I heard? And you really build up a confidence that wherever you are in your room, you are being heard by everybody.
And now let's look into a little bit the setups. I mean, how can that look like? So we have a couple of to finish off the session, and then I hope that we have some time for questions if there is questions coming in. What could these setups look like? And I would like to start with our last polling question here. Which setup of these two setups do you need? A plenary setup or a setup in collaborative style? So plenary setup or a collaborative setup or a collaborative style? Which setup, A or B, do you need? Don't be shy. What would be actually your preference, or what do you need more? Maybe you need both. I don't know, but if you have to choose, which one do you need? I don't want to influence you. I can just say afterwards what we see a lot when we talk to institutions like yours. Okay, which setup do you think you need? Plenary setup or collaborative style setup? All right, so we have here the collaborative style setup, yeah, and that's exactly what we hear a lot. A lot of people want to have more collaboration. It's not only about an auditorium style, as you can see it here. Of course, sometimes you will need an auditorium style, but not always. You have to do the breakouts, and you might want, as Peter said before, mix up students that are in the classroom and students that are remote into smaller groups as well, as if they were going into these famous breakout rooms, you know. So let's have a look. Let's have a look of how this could look like. So this is really the classroom, the hybrid classroom setup, and this is of course, a synthetic image here, a drawing of how an auditorium or a classroom, a plenary setup could look like. This is also a little bit like the image that I showed you before, the setup that we have put in place at the moment, where we have taken the picture of our own training room, a hybrid training room in our headquarters. So this would be a setup that is of course needed sometimes. You have one teacher, one professor teaching in front, two students that are sitting in front of her, either in the class or remote. Same here, a little bit different setup style. This is at Mace Business Schools at Texas A&M University. A setup where it's already more interactive. Everybody can see each other. You don't have actually the remote participants in your back, so it's a very different style. Maybe it's less comfortable for the professor because this person here has maybe some of the in-classroom participants in his back, but that's okay, I guess. So really but still a plenary style setup where everybody is together in one class, and we have one facilitator, one professor, one faculty member bringing something to the audience. Another setup style here. So we have here again a curved setup in the classroom. This is at KU Leuven. It's a university, Leuven here in Belgium, in Europe, where we have also in the back of the classroom the remote participants and then the in-classroom participants. Then the hybrid classroom setup that is more collaborative, so the collaborative style, and we have already mixed up some of the images before into our slides, and here you can see it crystal clear. You have pods where you can have people who participate, either only in classroom participants or only remote participants, but you can also mix up both in classroom and remote participants. That's what you can see here. This is how it looks like at King's College, one of our setups in the collaborative style, so where people are together here in pods or in the collaborative way. You can see how they are collaborating. Also at King's College, you have the remote participants that join, and the in-classroom participants as well, and they are working with each other. Of course, it needs a very nice setup and perfect setup with one of our partners for the microphones and the cameras. As was said before, one of the basic things, but very important things that we never should forget is people have to hear and see each other. That's the first thing actually that you have to make sure if you want to roll out a hybrid setup. But why should you choose? You could also have both. And what you can see here is still a plenary setup, but that can be shifted to a collaborative style setup. And that's really the unique thing here with our platform. I think we are the only platform that guarantees that You can see here two colors of the chairs, and you can shift actually the chairs, the yellow chairs to one of these screens on the side, and then the brown chairs to the other screen. And that's where you make up for the pods. You know, you might not have tables, you might have tables. That's then what you have to design yourself and think about. That's also the mission. What do you want to achieve? But you can change that during a class or from one class to the other. You can shift around and make people actually go from a plenary setup into a collaborative style setup and vice versa, which is giving, again, a lot of flexibility. I said when I started this talk, flexibility is the key word, and I think it is really the flexibility. And with that, I have shown you this last image, and we have some examples, of course. I would like also to invite you to one of our discovery sessions, because we have talked a lot. We have tried to show you some pictures, we have tried to show you some concrete examples. But if you want to experience one of our sessions ourselves, so the next one is on April 13th, but we have these sessions twice a month. So just visit us on barco.com, discover WeConnect, or just type WeConnect, Barco WeConnect, and you will get there. You will find actually a registration page for this discovery session that is lasting 45 minutes, where you will experience what it means to be in a training, in a teaching session actually, and how interactive it is, how people can engage with each other, and what can be done, how we plan for the breakouts, etc., and ask all your questions. But if you have more questions, now we have a little bit of time for questions. I think, Peter, I don't know if there are any more questions actually that
for
have come.
now, Simon, I don't see questions in the questions tab.
I've had a few questions come through to me directly.
Yes, okay.
First of all, we've had a question asked: full adoption of Industry 4.0 and as such Education 4.0 would require a cultural shift in business schools in terms of teaching and course design. How can business school leaders manage this?
That is very, very important. I think it comes back to this, to these 4 pillars, you know, of mission. Yes, I mean, course design has to be redone. I was just this weekend with somebody also in a corporation, learning leader, leader of a corporate university. Talking to her, she said, well, we are at the forefront of technology. We have rolled out a lot of things, but we still are struggling actually with what is needed from a course format perspective. We still try actually to package 2-hour in-classroom courses into, then transform them into 2-hour online courses, not even synchronous, which is not possible, of course. And also the consumption modes, as we have seen in this Carrington survey, have changed. So not only the younger generation, also people like me, we want to have small bits and pieces. Look at webinars. We are holding quite a lot of webinars, and less people actually join. Lots of people register, which is great, and then they want actually to view the webinar at a later time when it is convenient to them, maybe in the evening once the children are in their beds, etc. So adapt it to their own lifestyle, which is giving them, again, flexibility. That is really, really important. And maybe you are also viewing this webinar now here. So what can we give as advice actually to business school leaders? It's really to sit together, define this mission, sit together with people, learning technologists, IT. We have also published, by the way, a very interesting interview with the CIO of INSEAD Business School, one of the members, of course, of AMBA and BGA, talking about what is a successful rollout for IT for hybrid and virtual classrooms. So sitting together, defining that mission, how this mission for the learning objectives also coincides with the business school strategy, and then work it from there. And I always say, start small, try things out, fail quickly and then go on and do something else, right? And maybe also include, I would say, the students, because they are very resilient. We have had a very uncertain period, and it's continuing, unfortunately, but they can handle that, and they can actually bring great ideas to the table of what they need or what they not need, right? And what might be obsolete. Peter, I also want to give you the opportunity to add. I see you nodding.
Well, it's true. I think when you are defining this mission, think about indeed what success looks like, and look at it from multiple perspectives. Like you mentioned, work with all the stakeholders, and eventually you want to come to a balanced scorecard where you define KPIs from these different angles for the different stakeholders. And this gives you a framework, a bit like a hold on to when you are trying, because this is a journey, and it is learning by doing. And it is indeed easier when you start small, then it's easy to learn, easy to fail, easy to pick up again and to continue. But it's very important when you begin that journey, try to define for yourself from the different perspectives, set some KPIs to where you want to work against. Because otherwise, if you have a failure, it will feel like a failure. If you have KPIs, the failure really feels like something you have learned and you can progress. So that is, I think, the biggest tip I can give today.
Yeah, and if you set very big goals, make sure you have some intermediate objectives, so that little milestones that you can celebrate with everybody that is included in the project. Really important, because otherwise it seems unreachable, right? Even if you're heading for the stars, try first actually to head for little successes. Okay, Max, anything else?
Yes, I think we've got time for one, maybe two more. This one seems very interesting. Do you believe that the pandemic has triggered major changes in your clients' long-term strategies? And if yes, how?
So what we can see, maybe I can hop in. Yes, it has triggered changes, major changes. Yes, also, as we have seen already in some of the results of the technology report that we have, the survey that we have run together with AMBA and BGA, was that the cohorts have grown, which means that business schools have been able to grow their intakes, right? So this also results in more diversity. One of the big things that really have happened is that courses have become more inclusive, and the best faculty was maybe only available for some people who have been able to travel to, I don't know, New York, to Paris, and name them very expensive cities for housing and T&L expenses. Now we can really, business schools can welcome everybody. That really changes something also in the level of courses and the diversity and the inclusiveness. The second thing is, what we see is more and more business schools are aware and want to work towards sustainability goals, right? Which also means that they want to reduce carbon footprint, and by deploying hybrid or virtual classrooms, that's what they can do, because people will travel less. And this is definitely something that business schools are looking for, have been already looking for before the pandemic, let's be very honest, but even more and more, let's say. So I think that has nothing to do with the pandemic. What a third one that I can see is what I said, is the flexibility point. Yes, same. We have got both business school customers, but we also have corporate customers, as I mentioned before. And both are looking into, and I think the business school, our business school leaders we are working with are at the forefront actually of the change. They need to give the flexibility that has been gained during the pandemic now and have a continuation of it. How they have to do it, or how they can do it and be successful and make things happen, they still figure it out. I think, again, business school leaders have already figured out a lot of things, have needed to change very quickly. Corporates are still looking into how to transform the whole workplace, not only the learning and development area or the corporate universities. So flexibility, sustainability, diversity and inclusion, really big topics. And of course, technology can help to support these very big goals.
Fantastic. Sorry, carry on, Peter.
Maybe to add to that, Simon, I think during COVID, we have seen a revolution on the digital transformation, but especially in the area of digital replacement. The normal was away, so we need something to replace. And in that, we saw the fact that there are indeed digital engagement ways that are more sustainable and more inclusive. And I think now we are at the point where there is a bigger acceptance also to look into what are further potentials for these digital engagement solutions. When you look into the fact when you are transforming courses more digitally, to look into opportunities of when you are working more digital, what are new opportunities around the corner that actually can enhance the learning journey. And I think we are really just at the start of looking what a digital potential can be. So I don't think this the hybrid learning space is not an end, but really just a beginning to see the opportunities of having a digital collaboration and what this all can mean for us.
Perfect. Thank you both. Unfortunately, that is all we've got time for. Once again, want to thank both Simone and Peter from Barco for such fantastic and fascinating insight. Once again, thank you all for joining us and for your brilliant questions and interactions. I hope you enjoyed the session as much as I did, but if you missed anything, don't worry, because the recording and the slides will be available in post-event comms and on the Amber and BGA websites within a week. Thank you once again, and goodbye.
Thank you very much.